Hello, everybody. Welcome to a good football show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined today by Denny Carter. We're going to take a spin through the league's latest news before welcoming in our newest teammate, Mr. Lawrence Jackson, to discuss his favorite rookie running backs and take a look at some veterans he believes are poised to bounce back in 2022. But first, Denny, I believe you have an earth-shaking announcement to make about your 2022 fantasy drafting strategy, and you might be changing up the kind of players that you target when assembling your teams.
It's a big idea, and I'm going to try to distill it here for the listeners. I've committed in best ball drafting this year to playing the best plays, to drafting the best players, no matter position. I'm done thinking, is what I'm saying. I'm finished with thinking. I've done enough thinking. Last year, I found myself looking at week 16 and 17 schedules to determine who I would pick in the later rounds. This is the theater of the absurd. It's enough thinking. We're drafting based on pure gut. I said on Twitter, I will be like a lion with a slab of meat. I will have no gods and no masters in best ball this year.
So what you're saying is that spending 60 to 70% of your summer gaming out which number 3 running backs might average 8.3 PPR points after November 10th maybe hasn't been the best use of your professional and personal time?
Man, you said it. You said it well. Some would say that you couldn't have said it better. And yeah, I mean, enough is enough. If you look at the teams that win the big best ball stuff, they're just ordinary looking teams. Like it's not like some like insane strategy worked out where, whether, in my case, it's not like the winners of these tournaments don't take running backs until the 15th round, or it's not like they start with 8 running backs off the start. So it just I'm tired of it. I'm tired of overthinking. I will still probably overthink a little bit, but I'm trying to ratchet down the actual thought that I put into these drafts.
But Denny, so if you ratchet down the actual thought, that means you might just start drafting actually good players. And if you start drafting actually good players, does that leave the brand just in tatters?
Completely, and it probably endangers my job here at NBC Sports EDGE, because I'm supposed to be the guy who rants and raves about borderline fantasy options. But what this probably means is that I'm just going to end up taking a lot of running backs, right? I mean, that's
true. Well, yeah, as part of our very complicated legal agreement we have that allows your continuing employment here after years and years of negotiations, untold millions in legal fees. Yeah. You are not allowed to draft any good football players. So this reopens the agreement, and of course, again, puts you on extremely thin ice with the NBC Universal Corporation.
Yeah, well, it's a risk that I'm willing to take in order to, win a little money in best ball, which would be a nice change, I think, for me.
What happened here is all of a sudden you're willing to draft good players. It's almost like you're a new human. Did you bet on the horsey who was 80 to 1 odds to win the Derby in Kentucky on Saturday, Denny?
Yeah, like I told you via text, I put the mortgage on that horse.
That horse's name that we know.
Yeah, red velvet, Lucky Strike.
I think he was a red square.
Yeah, I actually bet it all on Tis the Bomb, and it didn't work out. Actually,
I'm just typing Kentucky Derby horse winner Rich Strike. What's his name? And I actually have a real story about that. He was the longest odds to ever win the Derby. And Denny, I was at a what is known as a bachelor party over the weekend.
Yeah. How'd that go? I wasn't jealous at all. Go ahead, tell me about it.
It's at a bachelor party in Asheville, North Carolina. As being like the sports guy, I kind of engineered a mini Derby pool where just between the 5 of us, where I randomly assigned 4 horses to just 5 people each, and it was only for $20. But I had horse number 20, who was then scratched before the race, and then entered number 21, Rich Strike. And then suddenly he won the Derby. And let's just say, amongst my non-sports friends, there may have been some accusations of, having mafia associates or the fix appeared to be in.
Well, everybody knows that you spend just unbelievable amounts of time studying horse racing. studying the odds. You've written several books on horse
Yeah,
racing,
of course.
and so they know that going in. So I would be suspicious myself.
Yeah, producer Adam actually corrects me. It was the second longest odds to ever win the Derby, after, of course, the famed Donerail in 1913. Who could forget that one?
Someone should tell the mainstream media this fact, because I've heard the opposite about 400 times since Saturday.
There's been so much Donerail erasure. It's like no one even remembers the past 109 years around here anymore.
Exactly. We should remember Donna Rail,
or Dunrail. I don't know how you pronounce this.
Whose name I've heard.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the show, like we do every week. When is Donerail going to finally get his due? Maybe Rich Strike will finally put Donerail back in the public consciousness.
Please.
Denny, the first thing you wanted to talk about today was the New York Giants' offense. That powerhouse unit led by Daniel Jones, the one where all the fantasy points are going to be. I joke, but this is going to be a very fascinating group, both talent-wise and ADP-wise. Got a lot of wild cards, kind of highlighted by Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney. I mean, even like a Kenny Golladay bounce back type of thing, which Lawrence Jackson may talk about later in the show.
Sure.
You believe you are currently kind of like higher than the industry right now when it comes to Giants' ADP. Just kind of lay on us what you wanted to say about the Giants offense.
Right. And look, I don't love doing this because, I've had issues with the Giants fan base in the past. So this is purely objective analysis. You can believe that. Okay.
Always objective from you.
Well, not always, but this is, the coaching staff, including Brian Daboll, have talked a lot over the past few weeks about, getting Daniel Jones to play more instinctually, to have him take those shots downfield, to be aggressive rather than to check down. This is the complete opposite language that we're used to hearing out of the Giants under Joe Judge and Jason Garrett, who said time and again to the media, we want Daniel Jones to basically manage the game and let's not make the big mistake. Let's take care of the ball. This is what we need Daniel Jones to do. Now, he didn't. That strategy was a complete failure. In fact, it probably will cost Daniel Jones his spot as starter. I mean, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's probably gone after this year unless he has a really good year, which I guess I'm predicting. So maybe he'll be back. Anyway, I like the language coming out. I like the fact that since the beginning of 2020, Pat, only 2 quarterbacks have a higher EPA on downfield passes than Daniel Jones. This is something that we should pay attention to because he has what used to be about 18 months ago one of the league's premier downfield pass catchers in Kenny Golladay. Like that can line up, that can match up very nicely if they get it going this year.
The problem with Golladay is that he's one of the premier downfield pass catchers, but he's one of the premier downfield pass catchers like in traffic, which is where Daniel Jones has always feared to tread. And we were talking about this last week, I think, where we both like independently discovered like Daniel Jones I discovered this last offseason when they signed Golladay, actually, that he's actually when he does throw downfield, he's actually one of the better graded downfield passers. The problem is that he literally never does it, like ever.
Very seldom, but he has been successful on those. And he apparently, according to people who watch games, he throws a nice deep ball. He also besides the passing aspect, which is important with the quarterback, obviously, he's highly athletic. He can produce on the ground. Some of his best games, for fantasy purposes at least, saw him rush 6, 8, 10 times, including near the end zone. If we can get that back, I think we could have if you're going late round quarterback this year, which it depends on the kind of league you're in, the savvy of your league mates. I think Daniel Jones stands out as one of the top options because of that rushing upside.
Well, Denny, here I thought you were actually going to start drafting good players. Now you're talking about late round quarterback.
Here we go.
The good news is late round quarterback is that you still do get actually good players. And the thing with Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones is like it might not be just talk, because this is how Brian Daboll got the job, was by playing that kind of. Of course, he got the job by having like a nuclear warhead at quarterback and Josh Allen. But he did get the job playing this kind of hyper aggressive, not afraid to throw, not afraid to abandon the run offense, like not just checking down just for the sake of it. And of course, Daniel Jones, you talked about all of Daniel Jones's player attributes. I mean, he is kind of like a poor man's Josh Allen, at least as runner. I mean, true emphasis on poor man's, but like he actually can like uncork some big runs, and he's like certainly come to the right place. You know, the actions, of course, speaking maybe a little louder than words. With the Giants, I don't know how much promise they really see here, seeing as they did not, of course, exercise Daniel Jones's fifth-year team, which no sane person would have argued that they should. But like, it's noteworthy that they didn't delude themselves into thinking, oh yeah, he's going to be an instant hit in this offense, you know. So even if they have expectations, they are already hedging by not exercising the fifth-year team option. But of course, again, no one would have recommended that. But like the Panthers, you know, like deluded themselves and like immediately exercised the option on Sam Darnold. The Giants did not make the same mistake.
Also, I think that, you know, it's easy to like undersell the talent level of the Giants offense because it was so egregiously awful last year because of the coaching and because of injuries, of course. But, you know, an offense with Golladay at full health, with Kadarius Toney, one of the most electric, productive slot guys in the league last year during his little run in the middle of the season, Sterling Shepard, who is proven productive. And, you know, the guy, Saquon Barkley, you know, like, I know it's easy and fun to dunk on Barkley and say, oh, they shouldn't have taken him in this first round. Well, that's probably true. It doesn't change the fact that Barkley can be a game-changing guy when he is healthy. And when he was healthy for about 10 seconds last year, he actually was really good. So this is a talent-packed offense. I think Dable can get the best out of it.
Yeah, in theory. I mean, even Wan'Dale Robinson's another like offensive weapon type. I mean, Kenny Golladay is one of the better downfield threats at like winning in traffic, whereas Darius Slayton's like one of the better downfield threats at just like winning with speed. So like there's a lot of varied skill sets here, and the offense should not be anywhere near as bad as it was last year. I mean, they have not blocked for several years. I will say that. Daniel Jones, of course, can make an offensive line look worse than it actually is. But it is a deep and varied skill set. Sterling Shepard, of course, rehabbing a major injury.
Yes, right.
But there's a lot to work with here. You know, hopefully they don't trade Kenny Golladay. That seemed to be kind of one of the more like fake rumors and like seemed to be like a pure motivational ploy from the Giants. I don't think there was actually anything to that.
Golladay seems like the kind of guy who could use a little motivation.
Not Golladay. Sorry, it was Kadarius Toney.
Oh, him too.
Yeah.
Him too. Well, they were pissed because he didn't show up for the not the mandatory workouts, but the optional workouts.
Yeah, it has been a very interesting 2 years for Kenny Golladay as well. Maybe now that he's actually on a team that might win some football games, he might catch some passes, folks.
Yeah, I mean the team obviously under different circumstances and management last year, but the team was not happy about Kadarius Toney's offseason situation.
No.
Last year, they weren't this year. He did show up like right after those trade rumors started circulating. So I think he got the message. Let's hope the message sticks with him. Yeah,
please don't trade Kadarius. Or actually maybe do trade Kadarius. Trade him like the Packers or something.
Oh, man. That'd be pretty cool.
Trade Kadarius Toney to the Packers, or you heard it here first. Denny, I don't believe you were party to this, but we recently had an intense Slack discussion debating the proper depth chart order of the Chiefs' as wide receivers, with kind of a number one case made for Juju Smith-Schuster, like a number two case made for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, kind of like every positional case made for Sky Moore. Is kind of what do you see the pecking order in the post Tyreek Hill Chiefs receiver core? And like, it could be weird because we were debating like, well, Marquez Valdes-Scantling might play like the most snaps actually, but I guess how do you see like basically the 1, 2, 3, maybe the target shaking out this post Tyreek Hill Chiefs offense?
I did see that Slack exchange, and I slowly backed away.
It actually got fairly heated
from the raging fire, and I thought, because I was like writing up a message. Oh well, have you considered? Never mind. Yeah,
it was a good one to back away if you didn't really need to be
maybe I'll go make some NBA lineups.
Well, anyway. you were gonna say Mecole Hardman should be number one.
I
why
think
you left.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe. I mean, so yeah. Take us through your thoughts.
Look, they've talked him up constantly since Tyreek Hill was traded. They originally drafted him to replace Tyreek Hill when Tyreek Hill was facing, a major suspension or being kicked out of the league. I mean, we have short memories, but this is something that happened. And in the game that Tyreek Hill missed, we talked about this, missed at the end of last year with a heel injury, suffered during warmups.
Doing a flip.
Hardman led the team in pass routes. He led the team in targets. I'm not saying that Juju Smith-Schuster's addition to this and MVS's addition to this offense means nothing. Of course, it means something. But I do think that those kind of yak routes that Tyreek Hill got that were so valuable for fantasy are going to be funneled exclusively to Hardman. He's the one guy. I guess Sky Moore, but I think that may come later down the road. He's the one guy who projects as someone who can pick up that kind of workload. Now the downfield stuff, Hardman was really not used last year down the field, almost not at all. So I think that MVS gets that, and maybe Juju Smith-Schuster gets the boring over the middle targets. But I'm prioritizing Hardman right now.
I mean, that's kind of a key, is that they are just like fully replacing Tyreek with two players. Like MVS and Hardman are going to kind of doing this like piece by piece, and there's no like plug and play replacement for Tyreek Hill. And when I think of the Chiefs receiver core, I do think, maybe I'm like a prisoner like the 2018 moment or something, but I have a hard time believing Juju Smith-Schuster is not going to lead the receiver core in targets. I really do.
Man, I can't get with that mindset. I mean, this guy has been struggling. I'll say, generously struggling for years now. And it's not that 2018 season is not coming through the door, I don't think.
No, but he has alibis for each of the past 3 years, basically, where the Big Ben injury happens early in 2019. Big Ben essentially is a ghost at quarterback the past 2 years. He's never had a successful season, fantasy or otherwise, without Antonio Brown. That is true. But say Juju Smith-Schuster is reliant on other people to post big fantasy numbers. He does now have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback.
He does.
And he does, even though Travis Kelce now appears to maybe be in his decline phase, he still has Travis Kelce, who occupies a lot of defensive attention over the middle of the field. And I just don't see how anyone else emerges as the target hog. And the Chiefs, I think they'll probably split the difference between their deep attacks and last year's underneath obsessed approach, where MVS is going to be just getting downfield targets. There's just no other way to use him. Mecole might get some. Sky Moore could get some. And I just think Juju is going to be the cleanup man, the true, maybe his Jarvis Landry moment has arrived here.
I could see that. Speaking of Kelce, I think that we may be, underselling the impact of Tyreek Hill's absence on Kelce. I know he is in the decline phase of his career. There's no doubt about that. But for instance, we recently ranked players. I'll give people a little peek behind the curtain. I ranked Travis Kelce 1 over Mark Andrews. Now it's close, obviously, but I think that with the Ravens likely to be run heavier this season, and Tyreek Hill's absence from the Kansas City offense, I think Kelce is could see absurd target numbers in that offense.
I did rank Mark Andrews first, by the way. Yeah, check out the NBC Sports EDGE Roto World NFL Draft Guide coming later this summer. We're working hard on it now. We'll be right back. We have a very special edition of A Good Football Show following the NFL schedule release later this week. Join myself, Sarah Perlman, Drew Dinsick, and Patrick Corain on Friday at noon Eastern as we dig into the marquee matchups, analyze team win totals, and predict who we think will be crowned divisional champions in 2022. That is this Friday at noon Eastern. As Sarah Perlman, Drew Dinsick, Pat Corain, and me, the other Pat, discuss the 2022 NFL schedule release. Denny, a Ravens backfield with 2 rehabbing early down runners and little clarity heading into 2022 has added a day 3 change of pace option in Mizzou's Tyler Beatty. Do you think Beatty will crack this running back rotation, or is J.K. Dobbins, who we really have not seen a ton from at the NFL level after 2 years, will he actually begin to maybe live up to his 3-down destiny? Just kind of what are your initial thoughts on this Ravens backfield? Maybe this new look Ravens backfield, 2 hopefully healthy guys returning, and another kind of potential change up option in the mix.
There's very little indication that the Ravens want J.K. Dobbins to be the every down guy, catching all the running all the routes. out of that backfield. Like, I think their draft showed, first of all, trading away Marquise Brown, drafting 100 tight ends, blocking tight ends,
A lot of tight ends,
and an offensive lineman.
Ryan Pace level of tight ends.
Yeah. And I think that this all kind of points to them getting back to Ravens basics, which is basically just running the ball until they literally can't do it anymore. And I think that would speak to a team that wants multiple backs involved. And so, yeah, J.K. Dobbins will probably be first in the pecking order, but I don't think that, he gets that all valuable, passing game action that we want him to get as fantasy managers. And also they signed Mike Davis on Tuesday. This is, I know Mike Davis is 29 years old and, hasn't really shown much. But
is he under 30? Is that for real?
Age 29 season this year.
Really?
He's been in the league for 16 years.
I thought you were going to say 69 years.
No, that's disgusting. But yeah, I would say just keep it, pay a little bit of attention to Mike Davis, because he profiles to me as like a great Ravens back, because the Ravens, they showed last year with Devontae Freeman and Latavius Murray, they want veteran backs who A, don't make huge mistakes, and B, they get what's blocked. Nothing more, nothing less. That's Mike Davis. So just, pay attention to him a little bit.
It is weird too, because they've been a little cagey on the return timelines. John Harbaugh claimed they could begin camp on the PUP list, which doesn't really mean anything. A lot of times people begin camp on the PUP list like 2 or 3 days just because they didn't pass the conditioning test. But he didn't. It was notable when the coach didn't be like, yeah, they'll be cleared for training camp.
Yeah.
And, but very serious injuries. But it would be very concerning, I would say, for J.K. Dobbins if he spends any amount of time on the PUP list, even if it's a formality, because that injury happened last August. And now, 12 months now for an ACL, you're expected to be back after 6 or 7, basically. And that would be kind of a huge red flag if J.K. Dobbins actually was not ready to go to begin camp. But so we talked about we're working on our draft guide rankings. Where did you rank J.K. Dobbins? Because that was one where I just felt like, oh, that's too high. He was the one where every single place I couldn't find a spot basically that felt right for J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to see I have him here, but at RB20, that's where I have Dobbins.
So you have RB22. Yeah, you're surprised you remembered to rank him, you mean?
No. I'm surprised I had him that high.
Okay. I thought you meant I'm a
no. I thought I would have had him
ranker lower. And RB22 even feels kind of high to me, but
yeah, I put him right around Antonio Gibson, Elijah Mitchell, guys with a lot of question marks. I guess there's a scenario where Dobbins could take on a bigger workload down the line, especially if Gus Edwards has any issues with coming back from this injury, and they don't really have another early down banger type. But they do have Beatty, who would take the passing down stuff. Although, the passing down role of the Baltimore backfield, it's basically defunct for fantasy purposes. Lamar Jackson's not going to turn into Matt Ryan.
Maybe it'll finally kind of happen now. That the pass catcher core is just so depleted. I will say, as a guy who's seen probably every touch Tyler Beatty has ever taken, he probably is ultimately undersized to handle much of an early down role in the NFL, but he was not exactly an early down zero at Mizzou. He was one of the absolute best pure runners in the SEC last year. So it's not like he could make himself useful in a lot of ways. He's the kind of guy who could force himself onto the field. In no means am I saying he's going to be in the mix to be leading on early downs. Sure. But he has a pretty interesting overall skill set. And a final thought on J.K. Dobbins is just, even when you're a really talented player, even when you're a high draft pick, J.K. Dobbins is a top 60 draft pick. Life moves very fast at running back. And at the end of the day, he's going to be 24 this season and has 134 carries after 2 years in the NFL. It's probably still the best assumption that he's going to be the lead runner. But things just change so quickly at running back. If you lose even 2 or 3% of your lateral agility, your lateral, things maybe just make sure you're monitoring the J.K. Dobbins news and updates this summer is what I would say.
That's right. And remember, the Ravens are not a team that will say ever that we're committed to this guy
No.
as our lead back. Like they don't play that game. We saw that last year. Even when Latavius Murray had some nice games, boom, Devontae Freeman's in and taking over as lead back. So they don't play that game.
We're getting ready to welcome in Lawrence Jackson in a few minutes, and he's sitting in like our digital green room, and he's suffering in silence as we talk about the awful Ravens running backs from last year. Lawrence will be here in just a few minutes, but Denny, a messier backfield than Baltimore's, resides in Miami with early down grinder Sony Michel, now joining the likes of Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Miles. Who else is still? There's a lot of running backs. What are your thoughts on a lot of running backs in Miami?
Yeah, they have about 11 running backs. And remember, Mostert is a signing, from San Francisco coming into the system, in which he's very familiar. Of course, there's always the injuries with him, but I think people would point to Chase Edmonds as the most likely guy to, lead the Miami backfield. And, just looking through his game logs, he has over, 4 seasons in the league. He has 10 games of more than 11 rushing attempts. So, not exactly like a proven workhorse. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't be involved in the passing game. And Tua, if he is truly the starter, which I guess he is, he's going to be, he is prone to dumping it off into those short passes. So that could be good for Edmonds, but I see Edmonds as the most likely to be overdrafted, maybe by a long shot in redraft this year.
You mean even before they signed Sony Michel, it was hard to see the path to basically increased touch counts. And it doesn't matter if it's like a new coaching staff, a new team, like once you have been typecast as that change of pace back, it just doesn't change at the NFL level. Like there's almost never an exception to the Duke Johnson rule, basically. Like once you become like this guy's a third down change of pace back, like that's like what you are. It doesn't matter.
So I hear this argument. We have a good listener in the comments, and I hear this argument on Twitter all the time. Chase Edmonds is being paid. They say, but he's being paid the most by a long shot in the backfield, and that's true. That is true. It also means precisely nothing.
Who was paid the most in the 49ers backfield was Kyle Juszczyk.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, the Niners. By the way, Mike McDaniel. So I made a big deal about Mike McDaniel. Like this guy, he comes into Miami and he didn't immediately force them to sign an ex-49ers running back when they signed Chase Edmonds. I'm like, wow, this is progressive thinking here. And then, like 2 days later, they signed Raheem Mostert. And then I remembered that Chase Edmonds had like some of his biggest games of his career against the 49ers. And like, I think it actually was this like very old school football brain from Mike. Oh, this guy had some good games against us. Oh, Raheem Mostert knows the system.
Oh my gosh, that's really horrifying, and that's absolutely the case.
It's the case.
Coaches love signing players who did well one time against them.
Do you think? Is Sony Michel going to make the team? You think?
Sure. I mean,
he actually will, and he's actually going to get carries. I actually I realized this on the spot. He's going to make the team and get work. There's no way.
I think they could be surprisingly run heavy if they're good this year. And, a guy like Michel is like custom made to, just get like 4 or 5 yards up the middle like he did last year with the Rams. Like nothing special, but a huge workload. Like teams clearly feel very comfortable giving it to Sony Michel as a guy who won't make huge errors, but also won't break off long runs and can't outrun anybody, but that doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, they carry the football and then things happen. Like they fall after 3 yards.
So this is part, getting back to the first thing we talked about at the intro. We're thinking too much. You have to consider how teams view these guys, especially running backs, instead of saying, well, he jumped out of the gym, and at the combine, he's the fastest guy in the backfield. That it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, coaches want you to just be reliable and average 3.8 yards per carry.
Yes. So we have to adjust.
We must adjust, and we must return right after this with Lawrence Jackson. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app powered by PointsBet, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands by predicting what will happen in the NBA playoffs, Premier League, or the PGA Tour and NASCAR circuit. Go check it out now. It is now our pleasure to welcome in our newest writer, podcaster, all-around social media superstar, Lawrence Jackson. You should already be familiar with him, but you're going to seeing and hearing him a lot more. Lawrence, how are you doing today in your beautiful Atlanta Braves ball cap?
I'm good, man. I'm actually wearing an Al Horford jersey right now since he went off. Like, just so people know where he started off at, But yeah, man, I'm feeling good. Good to be part of the team full time. It really felt like it though. Once that check hit my account, then I really knew. Then I really knew it was for real. I was like, all right, because before that, I'm shaking, I'm nervous. I was like, something don't happen. But it's all good, man.
It wasn't a joke being played by ex-NBC funny man Jay Leno. I was about to make more.
Are you saying they pay you? I wasn't aware of that arrangement.
Lawrence, thanks, man.
They finally decided to do that. At least this time, at least.
Yeah, Lawrence, you're not supposed to mention around Denny that people get paid to work here.
Denny, forget I said that.
I'm an intern. That's all.
Work hard, baby. One day you'll be here.
So Lawrence is actually cashing checks, unlike somebody. And we're going to be talking some rookie running backs you like, Lawrence. But first, let's start with some bounce back veterans you like for the 2022 season. This is a topic we've been getting into a lot this month since we have had the draft and free agency finally come and go. We finally know, like by and large, what the rosters are going to be. Like you can really start projecting in earnest. Who is a veteran you like to bounce back in 2022?
Well, first, man, I'm going to touch on a guy I was just talking about earlier, and that's Kenny Golladay from the New York Giants. And a couple of these guys that I'm going to speak on is mainly because they ain't got nowhere to go but up. So, Kenny Golladay last year in fantasy finishes wide receiver 79 in PPR, right? So he got to at least cut that in half. I think I got him ranked at about wide receiver 36 or something right now. He missed time with the injury, so he should get some games back to be able to produce. As you know, he has Brian Dable or DeBall, however y'all say.
I think I've settled on Dable.
Dable, yeah, that's what I say too. They've got the new coach, and everybody got their fingers crossed. Well, people inside the Giants building had their fingers crossed that Danny Dimes is going to become like at least the normal starting franchise quarterback, which should be good enough for Kenny Golladay to greatly surpass what he did last season.
Yeah, just be normal, Danny. Please just be. Like, and guy's not really normal in any way. He's kind of like, he doesn't have the normal demeanor of an NFL quarterback. He seems kind of like a nice boatman, sort of. He's kind of an interesting.
Yeah. He got like person. That. He got like, he don't got the Eli look, but he got the wannabe Eli look. It's like a halfway teenage scowl that he got going. Like you look at him, he went to Duke.
I was gonna say, let's just be real. Like when you look at this guy, it's not a shocker when you hear that he went to Duke. Not a shocker.
Can we get a haircut for Daniel Jones that doesn't make him look like a lawyer in 1985? That's all.
Speaking of Jay Leno, he looked like he could be his son.
Wow,
he does actually. Oh my God, that's a really, really, really good point. And of course, half our audience has no idea who Jay Leno even is. Probably never seen the Tonight Show.
They got to go up there.
Going back to Kenny Golladay really quick, I'll say basically, I agree with the logic that there's essentially nowhere to go but up for Kenny Golladay because unless his legs are just totally gone, he's not this bad of a player. And I will say the only risk is that there is a 0% chance just that his legs could be gone. Like he entered the NFL as a 24-year-old rookie. He's now lost like a big part of 2 seasons to lower body injuries. He's the kind of guy who was never like Mr. Separation. Like I say, he's Mr. like kind of like hand fighter on the sidelines, a very physical role. And it's happened to guys, you see it happen to guys like Hakeem Nicks in the past, a former Giant. And just like there's a chance that maybe he's just never going to be the same player again, but that's not the most likely outcome. And as long as this guy's legs just aren't totally gone, there's almost no way, yes, with the coaching upgrade, just kind of the everything upgrade for the Giants on offense this offseason, that he's not going to at least bounce. A worst case scenario would be he's like a role playing wide receiver 4. I feel like in fantasy, which is kind of how you had him ranked.
Yeah, once. Like, and that means is when we're talking about fantasy, there's not much risk there because he's cheaper now at this time than he was last year. If we talking about redraft here now, the problem could come with there being not enough targets to go around. That could be his issue too if his legs don't give out on his. I think he's 30 years old now. He's
gonna be 29 this year.
Yeah, so that could be the other issue too, because you got Kadarius Toney in limbo. You got Saquon Barkley, who, if he plays, he's good for at least 60 catches. They just drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, and you still got it's confusing, but like you just mentioned, his ability to high point the ball should greatly improve his upside, especially when you get down near the red zone. So that's kind of what you're banking on if you take that shot on him later on.
Denny, you have any leftover Kenny Golladay thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was an air yards monster in Detroit. That's something I'm not joking when I say we forget that. I forget that. He ate up air yards every game for Detroit, and that makes him kind of naturally like a volatile fantasy option. I don't. We're talking positively about him. I'm in on these Giants receivers for some reason, but I don't see him as like an easy plug and play low end wide receiver 2 in this offense. Thankfully, he's being drafted as like a wide receiver 12. So I think that you can still get him in a 12-team league. Maybe you can plug him in as a flex in like favorable matchups and see and kind of hope for that long downfield catch. But he's going to get valuable targets, and that's what we're looking for late in the draft.
Didn't you say for some reason, I again contend it's because you're a secret Catholic like me and that you must punish thyself. Self-denial.
I can hardly deny it.
Yeah, I can't. Lawrence, who is another veteran you like to bounce back in 2022?
Yeah, so now I'm gonna move on to the running back who's now in a new home. Rojo.
I was gonna say Denny's gonna like this one, Lawrence.
Let's go, baby. Rojo, baby, fire him up. Well, I ain't gonna say fire him up. Whoa, hold on now. I'm just saying he gonna be better coming off a season in which he finished ranked RB 62. Again, another guy I look to cut that ranking in half. Now he's in a place with a coach where he ain't with Arians no more, so he can't be in no doghouse over there in Kansas City. They're going to actually need him to run that football. And he's also there with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, he ain't better than Leonard Fournette. And Leonard Fournette, he just got off to, he just popped off. So it was like you couldn't take him off the field, and he became a top 10 running back in fantasy. The Chiefs, they're going to have to change their game up. They're going to have to change their game plan on offense this year. Y'all talked about it a little earlier with no Tyreek Hill. We saw Patrick Mahomes do this a lot during the second half of the season where he was checking it down, taking what the defense gives him. So now when this team gets in that league, should they do that like we expect them to, you can expect to be seeing Rojo pounding the rock during the end of those games. And he should have some value because you could expect to see him by the goal line as well.
Denny, I know early in the show you made the startling admission that you're now committed to taking good players, but there's no way you're not in on Ronald Jones, correct?
Absolutely. No, I'm completely sold on Ronald Jones as a late round guy. Ronald Jones, like when he wasn't benched for, I don't know, missing a block in pass protection, has been really good. I know the mistakes are backbreaking, the mistakes draw the ire of coaches, and rightfully so maybe. But if he can stay relatively mistake free, he is by far the best back in the Kansas City backfield, and we just have to hope and pray, not to get religious, but that he,
See, there you go.
that he doesn't draw. Although I will say, Andy Reid is different. Andy Reid is different than Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians loves to just ruin running backs. Like that's his one passion in life, right? And Andy Reid, remember this? Kareem Hunt fumbled on the first possession of his rookie year.
First touch.
Didn't even matter.
Didn't matter. He put him right back out there. Hunt went crazy for 200 total yards. I think 4 touchdowns in that game. Andy Reid is not Bruce Arians. Thank God for that.
I will say it's interesting you made that point, Denny. I was going to bring that up. He's a lot more reasonable than Bruce Arians, but he is like he benched, like he gave up on LaShawn McCoy, who made a few too many mistakes. And there's a guy I already had like a history with too, and he doesn't have like endless patience. Like Rojo. So like Rojo, you're Rojo. You want your coach to be someone who's not going to bench you for your first mistake. But Rojo also makes enough. Like there's basically no coach in the NFL who's going to have like endless patience with a guy who is like missing one blitz pickup after another or fumbling, and it does remain a concern.
It does.
But I will say too, you guys are right. Sorry, their skill sets mix so well. Rojo and CH. Maybe CH can finally focus on just being the change of pace third down guy.
Yeah.
And Rojo, when he's not coughing the ball up or getting Tom Brady broken in two, he's one of the better early down runners in the entire NFL.
Yeah. Just like you said, Denny, when he's not missing a block in blitz pickup. See, for Tom Brady, that matters. Patrick Mahomes, he'll just run for 200 yards in the backfield, so it don't even matter. You could miss that block every once in a while. He gonna run in them circles and throw it with the flick of the wrist 80 yards. So it's cool. Hey, miss a few blocks. It's cool, man. It's all good.
That's actually a great point, Lawrence. I hadn't thought of like, when you have a stationary, like set in stone quarterback, if you miss a block, it turns into a sack fumble, and not so with Mahomes. So good point.
Yeah, Mahomes might actually prefer a few blown blitz pickups because then he gets like
he love it. He want to show off. He want to show that he elusive too.
He's sneaky elusive too. He doesn't look like should be elusive, but he is.
Well, it's pointed out. Yeah, he's the guy. Like he's basically the ultimate dad runner. He's always somehow though. No matter what, he's like just one step fast enough. He's like if Russell Wilson were still fast, basically
every time.
Lawrence, who is your third and final veteran where you're looking to bounce back in 2022?
Yes. So we're gonna go Julio Jones. I'm just kidding. But I am going to stick with a former Falcon. That is going to be my boy, Matt Ryan. It probably will be, not probably, he will be in the best situation offensive line-wise that he's pretty much ever been in his career.
Probably his entire career.
Yeah. Now, he don't have, prime Julio or Roddy White or any of those guys, but you do have the best running back in the game, which that he's never had that either. In Jonathan Taylor. Now, he finished his quarterback 20 last year in fantasy. Now, I don't expect a huge jump from him in that department because you would expect this team to be winning some games, especially in that division in which they play. But he can give you some weeks in which he's gives you quarterback one numbers. I see him. He could put up numbers similar to what Carson Wentz did, like 27-7. Without the turnovers and without choking against the Jaguars at the end of the season with a playoff spot on the line. I could see Matt Ryan giving you that when you give him a stable line, the best running game in the league, and a defense that can actually stop somebody. These are things that Matt Ryan, he might not even know what to do. He might say, oh, we got guys that play defense. Oh man, I'm still not sacked yet.
Right.
What do I like? He might have. So with all that, I expect him to be a little bit better, mid-level quarterback too, and he'll give you some good weeks with Michael Pittman and them. So I feel good about him bouncing back this season.
I feel like that was a pretty underrated storyline for Matt Ryan the past, his post Kyle Shanahan years, basically where maybe his lack of mobility would sometimes make the Falcons line look a little worse than it was, but it was just a bad line. I mean, he took more sacks. I know he's for a fact he's amongst the overall league leader in sacks the past 3 or 4 years, maybe the most sacks, where he just got hit over and over and over again. Can never be kept upright these past almost 4 or 5 years, really. And there's another great point. So he's never ever had a running back. I mean, anywhere, not even just a backfield. With Jonathan Taylor, the best, maybe the second best early down runner in the league now, after Derrick Henry, and then one of the better pass catching backs in Nyheim Hines. I mean, Denny, are you seeing any? Are you feeling any Matt Ryan love, or
sure.
Are you too committed to good players now?
No, I'm already trending back toward taking players who are not great, but Look, just to emphasize your point, the Falcons had, according to Pro Football Focus, the second worst pass protection last year and the fifth worst the year before.
Yeah.
Only the Dolphins were worse last year, and the Dolphins were an abomination protecting the quarterback. So, and the Colts, are at least like middling in pass protection, a great pass run blocking, but it's a huge improvement for his situation. And I wrote about a little bit about there are some indications that he's not washed. Like he's not what he was during his MVP type seasons, but he doesn't need to be. And I think he represents a market upgrade over Carson Wentz. I kind of get pushback for that, and I'm not sure why, but I believe that's that to be the case.
I'm not sure why either, but we'll fight them together.
Yes, please, Lawrence.
Literally not even a debate. I mean, Carson Wentz is going to be like out of the league in probably 18 months,
which is wild.
Yeah,
it really is.
Denny, you mentioned the Dolphins pass protection, by the way. Last year there were like 6 or 7 amazing gifs of like Austin Jackson basically it's like blocking air, like the pass rusher was just like already around him, like sacking Tua, eating Tua's lunch. So yeah, it was
amazing actually. You would see Tua actually not even be able to complete his drop back.
Austin Jackson would basically be like almost like he was literally like in a walkthrough.
Yeah, and I'm talking about like a short, like a 3-step drop back, and he would get to the third step, and someone would be around his ankles.
Did you say, Pat, he doing the dance from Thriller?
Yeah, he really was. Yeah. Like TJ Watt would like almost like he would like be running slower than usual. Like I kind of feel bad, and he still would just be by him within 2 seconds. Yeah. Hopefully that improves under Mike McDaniel. Lauren, a topic near and dear to our heart is rookie running backs who might not really contribute in 2022. We're just been all summer talking about rookie running backs. We want to actually have big roles.
Yeah.
So who we're going to talk 2 rookie running backs you like, kind of beyond like the big names like Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. Who's the first rookie running back you're looking forward to seeing this year?
Well, that's going to be Dameon Pierce out of Florida. Just a good landing spot for him. I know he didn't get picked into the 4th round, but that's kind of where we all expected him to be drafted anyway. I think we all was kind of waiting to see which running back landed with the Texans, because it could have been any one of these guys. It could have been Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker, and we knew they would be coming into a situation where they would at least have a chance to claim a big role in that. Now, there have been some rumblings about these Twitter streets about Dameon Pierce not being able to, take advantage of that based on the fact that he had a small workload in college. But I kind of see that as a good thing. Alvin Kamara never led his team in rushing at Tennessee or at Alabama. And you see what he's done now. The thing that's working in Dameon Pierce's favor is that it's not like he's coming in behind Austin Eckler like Isaiah Spiller. He doesn't even have Rashad Penny like Kenneth Walker. He's got Marlon Mack, who, he's going to get his, I think this is probably his last chance to be some type of dude in the league. And then you got Rex Burkhead there, who, he like a journeyman running back, who I think one of them late games in the season, he went off. And I was like, okay, I see you, Rex. But that ain't going to be happening no time soon again. I don't think so. But I think early on, they'll be like in a little committee. That's how most rookies come in, start out in a little committee. And then I think his skill set, his size, skill set, and speed for a dude his size, eventually that'll take over at some point in the season. And we could be talking about him as the top rookie running back in fantasy. And the thing about rookie running backs in fantasy, they could come from literally anywhere. Shout out to Elijah Mitchell, James Robinson. They literally, so it could be some guy we're not even talking about right now, which is crazy. But based on what we know, one of the guys I like is Dameon Pierce.
That's such a good point. You have to be like so open-minded about rookie running backs. Because like the year that James Robinson, like we weren't looking to the Jags for fantasy value, but they just had the guy who got the touches. And like it's truly like you can't be an elitist about it. And I mean, Denny, what do you think is going to be the deal? Is Dameon Pierce, is his ADP going to get inflated? I mean, a lot of us are all thinking the same things about Dameon Pierce, laying out the very reasonable case. Lawrence said there's not much competition in this backfield at all. But do you see the ADP staying reasonable? Do you see it getting inflated beyond where he's a good zero RB target? What do you think?
I could see him definitely getting way, way too far up the draft board in the summer, especially if there's buzz in training camp. The beat writers for the Texans are saying, hey, look, he's the best player here. He's the best guy in the backfield. If he blows up in the preseason, we know how preseason highlights can inflate ADPs. And
Amir Abdullah doesn't know what you're talking about.
No, he has no idea. But yeah, and I could see that happening. I could, and conversely, I could see, Lovie Smith and his coaching staff saying, you're a rookie, you have to wait your turn. And he would have to wait. We would have to wait, maybe weeks and weeks, maybe months in order for him to get a real shot, a real crack at an every down role, or even an early down role in that Texans backfield. So I'm going to be a little bit wary of that situation. Now, Rex Burkhead, on the other hand,
oh my God,
is interesting.
Lawrence, did you know you were referencing Rex Burkhead, kind of having a big game? Rex Burkhead had 78 touches over the final 4 games last year.
That's boss things right there.
That can't happen. That can't happen. That just straight up can't happen.
Well, but this is another what we were talking about a minute ago. It was Rex Burkhead has always been somewhat of a fantasy punchline. But last year it was oh, you're playing Rex Burkhead, I bet. Well, he was going to get 25 carries. So yeah, I guess.
Well, yeah, week 16, the day after Christmas, he had 22 carries for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And it was fairly obvious that he was going to get a major opportunity.
It was against the Chargers too, who could not stop the run last year. But his in that 4-game stretch, the 3 other games he averaged under 3 yards per carry every game. So yeah,
there you go, Rex.
Yeah. So Dameon Pierce, come on, man, you got to do something here. Lawrence, who is the other rookie running back you would like to talk about?
All right, I'm gonna take it down to the A right here, man. Tyler Algier, 5th round pick in Atlanta, and this is right now it's shaping out to be a good situation and a good opportunity for him. It seems that all he got to do is just show him that he could play. They didn't sign any of these. They didn't sign Sony Michel. But if he did sign with Atlanta, you could have seen that happening. I expect them to use Cordero Patterson. Well, they've talked about using Cordero Patterson more as a receiver because you can't just, 41 ISO him down the field like you did last year. But I think a lot of that had to do with the ineffectiveness of Mike Davis, speaking of averaging under 3 yards a carry or close to it. A lot of that, and then when Cordero Patterson was hot, you need a true running back to get back there and run that ball. He reminded me of a young little Michael Turner, old Atlanta running back from back in the day.
Yeah,
he a little lighter in the draws than that, but he's still stout. You know what I'm saying? Now once he got drafted, they always show this highlight. The biggest highlight they show of him is on defense. He's running down a defensive player rather who got the turnover. He run him down and forced the fumble. Now he played linebacker when he first got to college, so I just like that mentality that he got. So he's already had a full season of playing linebacker at BYU. Now you got him at running back, and although at 5'11", 225, you would think, oh, he just some big dude who run the ball. Nah, he caught over 20 passes in his last year en route to scoring 23 total touchdowns. So if he could get in there and just show that you got a pulse, you know what I'm saying? Because speaking of competition, there ain't much there either, So if he could do that, he could come into a situation where he could end up surprising people and being that late round draft pick who does produce in year 1.
You might be even less competition than Dameon Pierce is dealing with in Houston. And
yeah,
Denny, do you feel any better about this one, Denny, or you still kind of have to wait for the dust to settle on the ADP?
No, I feel confident that Algier is the only back that I want in Atlanta. And I guess I'm not counting Cordero Patterson, who I don't know about his eligibility in fantasy this year. I guess it maybe depends on platform, but yeah, I'm very interested in him. I guess the one hedge I have is, will the Falcons be in position to run the ball? And the answer is probably no. It probably, unless they're playing a really bad team, they're probably not going to be able to do
what do you mean? They are the really bad team.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And Denny, by the same token, they're not going to throw 40 times a game with Marcus Mariota either.
Well,
so I bet they will run.
Here's to hoping they won't. They also, according to PFF, had the worst pass blocking unit in the league last year. So it's going to be a little bit tough, but volume wise, I think the rookie could have a good deal there.
Lawrence, I think you're right about Cordell Patterson's usage, by the way, where we kind of saw that last year where they really, in the final 4 or 5 weeks of the season, eased off the gas with him as a runner. And I think he openly talked about it. He was just kind of out of gas. He had never taken anywhere close to that many hits. And
you could see it.
yeah, you could see it. And where it was fun and cool, but maybe, and lucky they didn't get hurt or anything like that, but maybe not a sustainable approach for him. And maybe going back to much more of he's a wide receiver who runs the ball sometimes instead of a running back who catches some passes sometimes. So I think you're right there. Damian Williams, am I right, folks?
I don't know about that.
Watch it be him.
Yeah, I know. It would be the word. Or who is Quadre Olison still on the team?
Yeah, he is, but that's another 2-yard per carry type of dude. He just
Caleb Huntley.
That even worse.
Yeah, just yelling out random.
They just
names.
got a bunch of big dogs back there that can't really do nothing. So
yeah, Lawrence, man. Team, I gotta tell you, the old ball squad not looking too good this year.
No, man, I got faith, man. 12 wins, man. What you talking about?
Yeah, 12-5 in this now.
I didn't say this year or this decade. But I am saying they're going to win. And I didn't say in one season either.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying there will be 12 more wins in the history of the Falcons franchise.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's a safe bet. Thank you so much for joining, Lawrence. Joining us, Lawrence. Thank you so much for joining Lawrence, Denny, and I. If you've been watching or listening, we'll be back later in the week with our special schedule release show. We'll be back next week with all sorts of podcast goodness. Even though we're in draft guide season, lots of stuff going up at the site. I know we got some stuff coming from Zach Kruger this week. I think we have something maybe coming from Lauren Carpenter. Hopefully I'm not misspeaking there. All the news, keep it locked, rookie mini camps, etc. All that's going to be going on soon here. So thank you for listening. For Lawrence, for Denny, I am Pat. We will catch you later.